Hi, I'm Dr. Stan Gross. I'm President and CEO of Sano Global Nutrition. The recent research on gut health has been more than just a little revealing. Well, we've come to understand that there are so many things related to the bacterial balance of your intestines. Do you realize within our body there are more bacteria than there are human cells? We're more bacteria than we are human. Almost 10 to 1. Wow. So what does that mean? I mean, things that we used to relate to chemical processes in our body, like metabolism, for instance, and digestion of certain things. We used to write that off as a biochemical reaction in the body. Turns out it wasn't. It was our bacteria, the healthy bacteria within our body. And I use that term loosely because we tend to think of some bacteria being harmful, but they're only harmful if there's an imbalance. So within our body are colonies upon colonies upon colonies into the trillions. In fact, there are more bacterial cells alive in our body than there have been humans alive on the earth. Can you fathom that? That's just amazing. So, why? Why do we care? Oh, I don't know. If your microbiome is off, does it lead to inflammation? Absolutely. 90% of the inflammatory and pro-inflammatory hormones are produced in the omentum and can easily be triggered by an imbalance in your microbiome. What does that do? It can cause mental issues. You could become bipolar. You could become depressed. You could lose all of your energy. It could inflame so bad you would have ulcerative colitis that could bleed. And the treatment for that is seldom all that pleasant. And sometimes it's surgical, and sometimes it's dramatic. The other thing that could happen, it compromises your immune system. Your immune system, your gut immunity is so valuable and so important to your prolonged health. If you're infected with a virus, where do you think the cells come from that help you fight that virus? It's a gut reaction. Gut reaction, gut feeling. I had a gut feeling about that. Do you realize that many of the processes that we related to the brain actually come from the gut? Yeah, sometimes we have reactions because of a release of chemicals from the gut. How did that happen? How are those available to us? Where's serotonin come from? Most of it from the gut. What about L-dopamine? Gut. What about lactose stimulating hormone? Well, got you there. That comes from the brain. But how does the brain get stimulated to produce that? Gut. Every function, biochemical function of any proportion, of any importance, is strongly related to the gut, to a balanced microbiome. So how do we mess it up? Well, as long as you have a perfect diet, and as long as you exercise regularly, and as long as you sleep a strong 8 hours every night, as long as you have a good bowel movement at least once or twice a day, and I mean a good one, as long as you go to the bathroom and urinate 3 or 4 times a day, and as long as the rest of your day is not filled with stress, you should be fine. You should have no problem whatsoever. Now, I've eliminated, I'd say most of you. Because everybody's got things they worry about. Everybody's got stress. Nobody has a perfect diet. Hardly anybody I know exercises the way they should. Everybody has some type of emotional stress or mental stress that they're dealing with. Everybody takes medication sometimes when they probably don't need it. And many times we're taking antibiotics which kill what? Bacteria. So you take a full spectrum antibiotic and you kill the entire microbiome. I said, well, it'll recover. It'll do it on its own. How? The only way it does it is if you're constipated and there's enough fecal material in there to refeed the microbiome. That's disgusting to think about. But for people that go through heavy antibiotic therapy, unless they find a way to replace it, that's the only place it comes from. In fact, one of the major treatments these days for people with a completely eradicated microbiome is something called a fecal transplant, where you transfer fecal material from one person to another. I'd like to avoid that, wouldn't you? So we take antibiotics, we take other types of drugs, we abuse ourselves in so many ways, alcohol, drugs, you name it, doesn't matter. And then you're driving home in heavy traffic and somebody cuts you off. And that stress knocks out and throws an imbalance in your microbiome. What's a person to do? Well, you can't eat enough yogurt to make a difference. What you can do though is take something called Prepro Defense. Now what is Prepro? Prepro is both a prebiotic and a probiotic. Prebiotic means it feeds the colony of bacteria that's there. And a probiotic means it adds most of the essential bacteria that the body needs to recolonize the gut. One step further, it has an enzyme in it, the DE111 enzyme, which was developed by a company in Wisconsin. And the idea behind it was that this enzyme would recognize runaway bacterial growth, and it would eradicate through changes in pH this colony of bacteria, and the fragments of that bacteria would become food to the rest of the microbiome. So rather than destroying the bacteria, it's used to feed the rest of the colony. That's phenomenal. That's really smart. I wish I had thought of it. I didn't. I just added it to a formula I liked. So, what do? First of all, don't think a pill is going to fix all your problems. You have to clean up your diet. As you're doing that, if you're taking Prepro Defense, the things associated with gastric distress and intestinal distress and the cramping and the diarrhea and the discomfort and the bad smells and the gassiness, that all gets brought under control. This is especially true if you've been under antibiotic therapy, chemotherapy, or other types of medications, steroids for instance, that destroy the microbiome. Folks, this is really important. I've seen more and more and more articles linking imbalance of the microbiome with many things that were once thought to be incurable. And I'm excited that we're able to step into this frontier with a product that's effective. If you have questions about this, please come forward. We'd be delighted to discuss with you, look at your particular health issue, your profile, and see what we can do to get you back on track. Thanks for dropping by. We'll talk with you later. Bye-bye.